Thank you for joining. Okay, now we're on YouTube and we're on TikTok, and that idea of doing both at one time, which I absolutely love, came from Michelle O'Neill from the Legacy Builders program. I started that program and am working in it, but I felt like I was not very much of a leader. And I feel like you have to be. And in fact, I have always thought of myself as a follower. And I thought that's the only thing I can be is a follower. But now I'm learning that I can also be a leader sometimes. So if you've always thought of yourself as a follower, and then now you think of yourself, you think I'm just always a follower, maybe you can be a leader, a little bit of a leader. That's what I'm trying to do now, is to sometimes be a little bit of a leader, because that's a skill that will always help. And my boys have been in Boy Scouts, and they're all Eagle Scouts. I'm thankful to say, all three of them. And in fact, they're working at a Boy Scout camp this summer. But they learned leadership, and they much better than I. And they are all three leading this summer. And I don't know how that happened because they didn't learn that from me. But now I'm kind of following them and learning to be a leader. And I'm sharing my journey with you. I do not offer, this is all for entertainment purposes only. I do not offer any expertise, and I do not offer any advice. So if you learn something from this, that's on you. Don't blame me for it. So let's look at the law of navigation, just very quickly, briefly review that. I think that's an important thing. I think it's 5 basic tenets of the law of navigation. Navigators keep their emotions from clouding their vision. Oh gosh, that's hard. That's a hard one for me. Navigators draw on past experience. Navigators examine the conditions before committing. Another difficult one for me. I like to commit and do before I think, instead of thinking before I do. And I'm trying to learn to think before I do. So I look like Stella from Hearts to Hearts. Okay. I'm not familiar with that, but that sounds cool. I'll have to check that out. Thank you. Navigators listen to others. That's another thing I have not been very good at in my life, is listening to people. And especially if they say something that I don't like. So that's a good thing from the law of navigation. And finally, navigators balance both fact and faith. And that's something I think we need to pray about, balancing. Life is a balance in so many ways. And if we are unbalanced, it can really be an issue. So thank you for joining me, and I really appreciate that. I am going to do this. Plan ahead. Yes, it's an acrostic based on plan ahead from the lesson in navigation before I get to the lesson in addition. Predetermine a course of action, lay out your goals, adjust your priorities, notify key personnel, allow time for acceptance, head into action, expect problems, always point to the successes, daily review your plan. That's good. So when we can do this kind of thing and learn to be a leader, we can have a huge, I think we can have a huge, what's the word I'm thinking of effect on people. And I've never thought of myself as doing that, by the way, but I sometimes do. And a few years ago, a mom friend of mine, we homeschooled. She was a homeschooling mom. And she told me, thank you for the follows, by the way. I really appreciate that. That this homeschooling mom told me, she said that her husband said that she was a better person after she had spent time with me. And I was like, what? It was the first time in my life that anyone had ever that I recall anyway, that I recall that anyone had benefited in any way whatsoever by being with me. I just found that hard to believe. But she said it, and she's also an honest person. So I was just shocked by that. And it took a while to process it. But now, thanks to the law of addition, which we're going to add up tonight, um, I learned that leaders add value by serving others. Um, my name is Patsy Shore, by the way, and it's Patricia Shore on LinkedIn. And thank you for watching this. I really appreciate that. I'm not going to read this whole chapter, but I am going to read the highlights, and I hope you will want to read more of this book. I do have permission to share it with you. It is improper for one person to take credit when it takes so many people to build a successful organization. And that's a quote from Jim Sinegal. Chloe, it's good to see you. Hooray. I'm so glad you're here. Jim Sinegal, I think, is the guy's, I don't know how to pronounce that, but he is a there's a whole story about him in this chapter, and he works with a company, a retail company, and I'm not going to mention it, but I will say that that retail company is very successful, and in part, according to the story, because of his law of addition, the idea of serving others. So, motives matter. Why do leaders lead? If you were to ask a lot of leaders, you might hear a variety of responses, believing a leader's job is to be in charge, make the organization run smoothly, make money for shareholders, build a great company, make an organization better than the competition, and win. So those are the things, and none of those sound attractive to me, by the way. It's like, let's let somebody else be in charge. Let's let somebody else win. Do the math. Many people view leadership the same way they view success, hoping to go as far as they can to climb the ladder to achieve the highest position possible for someone with their talent. But contrary to conventional thinking, I believe the bottom line in leadership isn't how far we advance ourselves, but how far we advance others. Wow. That's an important thing. The bottom line in leadership is not how far we advance ourselves, but how far we advance others. Now, this is all a totally foreign concept to me. It really is. I was thinking tonight as I was preparing for this that I've always sort of sabotaged any career or jobs that I've had. And I've also worked for a lot of companies because that's what I felt like I should do, even though I wasn't very comfortable doing it. And a lot of times I felt like a really small cog in a big wheel. And a lot of times I didn't understand what the wheel did. And the last full-time job with benefits that I had was in 2001. And I was a technical writer for a company. And I really didn't understand how to serve people at all. But I was making $70,000 a year, which was a lot then. And I had a baby, and I was very, distracted by that. I got laid off, and I was okay with that. But I never felt like I really did anything to benefit people. Even when I was an English teacher, I felt like people didn't like English anyway. They didn't want to learn all the grammar. And I didn't understand that I was serving others. How can I serve others? Thank you, Bethany. That's so sweet. How can I serve others? That was the thing I didn't understand. And I have a delivery business now. I'm also in a music program. Some of you know that. And I've really been able to work on my delivery business this summer because I'm not taking any music classes. Music classes take up a lot of time. And I will say this about the delivery business. And tonight, with today's delivery, I took my husband to the airport in Charlotte. Some of you might know where that is. And sometimes sabotage just happens because we are just lost in where we are at life. Yes, I think that's true. Thank you, Chloe. That's a wise thing to say. I think that I have felt very lost all my life. I do. And I do not understand why people have stuff delivered. I usually don't. In fact, that's what I did um, during that whole 2020 mess and all that. Um, and so I did all of that, um, and I never had anything delivered much. I don't, maybe a couple of things, but mostly I was going out and doing the work. I wasn't afraid to get out and do stuff, and so I would go get our pizza or whatever we were getting, and you know, I don't understand why people have stuff delivered, but people do, and I think, and part of that is because maybe I don't feel quite as lost as I used to. Um, and I feel like this is the first job that I've done where I'm actually helping people, and I actually feel that because sometimes I see the people, sometimes they really appreciate what I've done. Sometimes it's like an older person who might need medicine or something like that, and it's hard for them to get out. And it's just such a blessing to be able to do that. If you want me to get rid of weird people, you can mod me and I'll block them. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Although I don't know how to do that, but I'll work on on modding. Um, Thank you. I appreciate that, Chloe. Chloe's been with me a while. I really appreciate that. So the law of addition is all about serving people. And so tonight, I think it was, I took my husband to the airport and then I started delivering stuff. And I delivered a whole bunch of stuff from a big box store, 14 deliveries. And it was around the Charlotte area. And I was probably, by the time I ended, I think I was maybe making $15 an hour, which is not, I made more than that in the 90s. So, sometimes that's very frustrating. But there's a part of me that, it's like, yeah, that's what I'm making, but I'm helping people, I'm serving people, and I feel like I understand I understand that I'm helping people and why they pay me for it. Somehow that's a valuable service to them. And I appreciate that. So, how do we serve people? And adding value, changing lives is what this book says. Truly value others. Becoming a leader means to give up our right to think of ourselves first. We need to focus on others. We must value people and demonstrate our caring in a way that our followers know it. So that's something, I've had so many jobs where I could, especially like teaching, I could have helped people and served people, but I didn't understand how to look at it that way. And maybe that's because, as Miss Chloe said, I'm not. I was lost. I feel less lost now, and I'm thankful for that. And I am learning to truly value others, and also to value myself, because I think for decades that I didn't value myself at all. And I didn't understand that I had any value. It surprised me when somebody thought I did. It was kind of shocking to me. Make ourselves more valuable to others. The whole idea of adding value to other people depends on the idea that you have something of value to add. You see, that's what I didn't even understand. You can't give what you do not possess. What do you have to give to others? Can you teach skills? And I can teach a lot of stuff, but I am also, I mean, I have a lot of advice. I've done a lot of stupid stuff, so I've learned a lot. Um, and yeah, that's a valuable thing. How can I make an income from that? That's something that's important to think about. Know and relate to what others value. Inexperienced leaders are quick to lead before knowing anything about the people they intend to lead. But mature leaders listen, learn, and then lead. They listen to learn their people's stories. They find out about their hopes and dreams. They become acquainted with their aspirations, and they pay attention to their emotions. From those things, they learn who their people are and what is valuable to them. And then they lead based on what they've learned. When they do that, everybody wins: the organization, the leader, and the followers. You see, that's what I want. I want everybody to win. If you want to learn to lead, I want you to read this book and learn to lead. And that way you don't have to be a follower. I've sucked as a follower all my life. I mean, sometimes it's necessary to be a follower. But if that's the only thing you can do and you don't know how to lead, that's not good. And that's the way I've lived my life. That's probably why I've been lost a bit, as Chloe correctly pointed out. Or she pointed out that might have been an issue for me. And it was. It was certainly an issue. Okay, so do things that God values. And I love that. And this is from Eugene Peterson's The Message. This is what God says. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was homeless and you gave me a room. I was shivering and you gave me clothes. I was sick and you stopped to visit. I was in prison and you came to me. Those are the things that, let's see, well, let me read. It's not what God says. That's not exactly what I meant, but what did I mean? This is from Eugene Peterson's The Message. When he finally arrives, blazing in beauty, and all his angels with him, the Son of Man will take his place on his glorious throne. Then all the nations will be arranged before him, and he will sort the people out, much as a shepherd sorts out sheep and goats, putting sheep on his right and goats to his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Enter, you who are blessed by my Father. Take what's coming to you in this kingdom. It's been ready for you since the world's foundation, and here's why. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was homeless and you gave me a room. I was shivering and you gave me clothes. I was sick and you stopped to visit. I was in prison and you came to me." Then those sheep are going to say, "Master, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry and feed you, thirsty and give you drink? And when did we ever see you sick or in prison and come to you?" Then the king will say, I'm telling the solemn truth. Whenever you did one of these things to someone overlooked or ignored, that was me. You did it to me. That's from, it's quoted in the John C. Maxwell book by Eugene Peterson in The Message. And then John C. Maxwell says, that standard for my conduct influences everything I do, not just in my leadership, but especially my leadership. Not just in my leadership, but especially my leadership. Because the more power I have, the greater my impact on others, for better or worse. And I always want to be someone who adds value to others, not takes it away. God values people so much that when we add value to them, he takes it personally. What we do to others is the way we treat God. So I kind of like that thought that, we can't just, if we love God, we will love others and we will help others. And that's the way to do it. And I really like that. I think this is the first time he's mentioned God in this book so far. And I really appreciate that. It's nice. I do want to do things that God values. Hi, Michael from Florida. It's nice to see you. I appreciate that. So that is tonight's little synopsis of the law of addition from the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And I've already gone over 20 minutes on YouTube, so I better stop. But I'll talk more about that. We've had a review of the law of navigation, a quick review of that. And we started talking about the law of addition. I'll probably do another video about the law of addition. So please like, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, follow, all of that good stuff. I really appreciate the help in that. So thank you so much for joining. I'm going to end this YouTube stream now. And I hope to talk with you all later. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. And I hope you'll think about how you can serve others in the law of addition. Okay.